More big news this weekend and into next week. Let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, sharing the videos, watching them all the way to the end. This is really what's made this channel grow. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This week has proved to be quite a big week, as we predicted last week. On Friday, I believe it was, possibly Saturday. I want to look into whether the felons actually will there be nuclear weapons tests. This, while it's just words, it's scary. So let's look into that. I think that's big news because I think the world would react really strongly to that. Let's look at a shutdown update as well. Let's kind of see how the shutdown's going. It looks like SNAP payments are going to go out, which is what we predicted. A judge that heard the case seems like it's going to happen, but let's see if that holds. And then we'll just take some looks at, the world and then the US. I think that's the best way to kind of see it. We do have, a lot of aftermath from Hurricane Melissa and a lot of suffering from that. Um, so and maybe we'll just take a quick peek at the felon. Okay, so let's start. Will the US test nuclear weapons? Will they start testing nuclear weapons? So Russia launched a missile, uh, tested a missile, I should say. It's probably capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. It certainly did not have one on it, um, or it was nuclear powered, or something along those lines. I think, the dementia is just confusing him with what's going on, but actually, like detonating nuclear weapons. The world hasn't seen anything like that since North Korea did some stuff under the ocean a while back. It was many years ago. Or at least not that I'm aware of. I could be wrong about that. I guess I didn't think to look it up. I mean, the blind leading the blind here, the two of swords. Uh, we do get wish fulfillment. I like that for us. Yeah, the judgment from overseas, I think, would be rather stark, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's already been stated. You know, if you test a nuclear weapon, we're not going to trade with you, essentially, is probably what would happen. It would lead to a lot of bad things, the Ten of Wands. You know, he sees it as this like cool thing because he's not smart enough to know what it actually is. Uh, which is unfortunate. But I really do believe that's the case. The truth is, I think this lives in his head. I don't think this is going to happen. There's some volatility though. We've got to, you know, I think the military would step in and say no because it violates a bunch of treaties. But, we don't know. Giving and receiving of information, I think he's trying to be talked out of this. The world would react really harshly. So it is scary because, it is the blind leading the blind here, right? It just is. He thinks it's something cool and whatever you want to call it because he's crazy. But the judgment would be really harsh. I just don't think that I think there's enough safeguards around that it's not going to happen. Um, he's very volatile and other countries know that, but other countries probably have put out pretty stark warnings that if you do this, um, this violates a bunch of stuff. So I think we all could relax a little bit here. I think the burdens would be too much for the military to do it. And, he might give orders, but I don't think the military follows through with it. I think it's all just in his head. It's a fantasy. So, yeah. Um, we get the Ace of Pentacles. We get the three of swords here. This, I think, actually is his physical condition is getting to him, and the Hierophant, he knows he's close to the end. So, and I think he knows that he's not going to heaven in his mind. So, no, I don't think the U.S. will test nuclear weapons anytime soon. I don't know that the U.S. has a place to test them anyhow. Um, it's not the 1950s anymore. Nevada's very populated, I know not in the center part of the state, but people aren't going to want to go to Las Vegas if it's downwind from where they just detonated a nuclear weapon, right? I just don't see it happening. So will SNAP benefits go forward? I've always thought that they would. I kind of second guessed myself, I think, a little bit yesterday on saying it might be delayed a little bit. And I think that's still true because I don't know that the judge's ruling can happen fast enough for the money to go out on Monday or Tuesday or whenever they normally go out. If it's the first Tuesday of the month, I'm not sure. Um, you do get the Three of Swords, but I think has to do with the heartbreak, just that we're going through this because we get justice as well. Like the judge said, people shouldn't starve because the government shut down. And I think, yeah, we get victory here. So I think, yeah, the government is going to have to argue this case on why it shouldn't fund the SNAP benefits as well. Don't forget, there can be a temporary thing, but then if it goes on longer, they're going to have to try to defend this. And I think that's pretty indefensible. Uh, yeah, we have the Two of Swords, choices needing to be made. Yeah, this is just another loss in court for the Trump people. We have everything that we need, the Nine of Pentacles. The argument's really not that hard. The money's there with the Strength card. It's just they're trying to punish Democrats. And truthfully, they're just punishing poor people who are both Republican and Democrat, MAGA and liberal. Um, and we get the truth. And I think the judge is going to see that. So I think the whole thing is sad, but I think the judge will make the right choice and tell the truth. The money's there, pay it out. Uh, we have everything we need to win this case, and we in fact do with the Six of Wands up here. So we get justice through quiet strength. They're having to defend this idea of not paying out SNAP benefits, and they're going to lose. And it's just going to be another case that they lose. We have death underneath. That's really interesting. And people walking away. Um, I know I read on his health a lot and the possibility of him passing, but it just really feels like it's soon. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but you know, his energy is starting to like not be as prevalent. Like there's kind of this fadingness to it. So that makes me wonder too. Um, he doesn't operate on a very high vibration, so it's a different energy to read than, say, like Pope Francis, which was pretty easy to read. Okay. What do we need to know about the shutdown? Is it going to go on? If you remember, well, you might not because there's a lot of new subscribers since then. But in my 2025 predictions, I said there was going to be a time where, you know, we had to help each other. Like the food lines would be long, donations. That's why I've always encouraged them. Uh, it's going to get bad if this continues. Do you think some Republicans are thinking about partnering with the Dems? With the higher front, the church, the court, the popes. If the court goes ahead and says, you know what, you passed the deadline to raise the premiums on the Affordable Care Act, then what are the Republicans fighting at this point? Um, of course, there's lots of lies, deceit, deceptions. None of us like this. Um, we're going to hear more and more stories about people going without paychecks, without housing subsidies, without food, because they don't qualify for SNAP benefits, but they're living paycheck to paycheck, right? I mean, we're just the fight is going to continue. I don't think it's resolved soon. Um, yeah, I think pleading for empathy, I think is the way that this comes to an end and eventually, but you never know. I mean, the felon is out of his mind, so bombshells, surprises, the Page of Cups, and a spy in the camp, the Page of Swords. I think we're already seeing this with Lisa Murkowski in particular, just kind of like I don't know that she's a vote, right? I don't think the Republicans can necessarily rely on her. So partnerships, emotional messages, and telling it like it is what's going to end the shutdown. Empathy, emotional messages, and then exposing the deceit and the deception. That's what ends the shutdown. Courts are probably going to be involved along the way. The American people are going to be unhappy. The politicians are going to be fighting and expect something unexpected here. Uh, Personally, I think that's kind of the Republicans deciding not to raise the premiums on the Affordable Care Act. I think that's hopefully what happens. You have the Knight of Wands fiery messages and people walking away from things that don't serve them. The Eight of Cups. So, you know, so I think this big energy of geopolitical big energy is going to continue. Um, what's the big thing that happens next week or this weekend even? Let's just look at the felon here. Shows the felon over just the next, oh, I don't know, 10 days. See the felon over the next 10 days. I also fear that there might be an airline that has some problems. I'm not trying to scare anybody. It feels like it's an international thing. I don't think it happens in the United States, but I think it's further, like, I think something like either that or something's going to come out about like how poor airline maintenance is with respect to Boeing planes. Something along those lines is like it could happen. Definitely feels like there could be an earthquake this month, meaning November, and like the Ring of Fire, Indonesia to Japan, Indian Ocean as well. I think the earthquake actually happens in the ocean. It will be centered in the ocean. I feel like that could happen as well. Okay, so let's just look at the felon here. Yeah, I mean, he's having to defend himself at home against the voters, the Seven of Wands and then the Four of Wands. We have an election on Tuesday in New Jersey and Virginia, California, and there's a bunch of mayoral races all over the country as well, and some special elections in Tennessee. Um, Intergenerational relationships, thinking about his kids. Um, It's interesting. Actually feels like he's kind of thinking about his mother too. Uh, he has a lot of anxiety today. So I'm recording this in the afternoon on Thursday. I'm going to release it on Friday morning. I think it's the middle of the night in South Korea or close to early morning. Huh. Here he is in his own reading. At the Nine of Pentacles, he's got everything around him that he needs. Plenty of support and messages coming forward. So, and he's finding himself having to defend himself. I think he does have a lot of anxiety, although I don't think he knows that word. And the anxiety he has is about the way people are talking about him, in particular overseas. Uh, he's got everything that he needs, but there's something about his thinking about his children here and his mother. This is different. So here's he and the Empress card. He knows that the voters are going to basically reject him next Tuesday. But he still has some support. He's very greedy. We know that the Nine of Cups, lacking empathy, lacking any sort of strength. Maybe something coming out about Epstein could be with the Chariot card going. So all those things are possible for sure. Um, yeah, just I think one quick kind of like just shows the US over the next 10 days. Just the US over the next 10 days. Well, I mean, ain't that the truth? Right? I mean, we are in a toxic sludge moment in history in this country. It's just the way it is. The truth is hard to discern, although I think people are being more discerning. And, you know, nobody knows why anybody's really doing anything. It seems like everybody's out for themselves in the government. We do get the Six of Swords. They're moving away from that type of energy and more towards this quiet kind of diplomacy. Now, that's not necessarily going to happen in 10 days, but that's where we're heading. We do have the protection card, the star. We get the truth, the Ace of Swords. We get pausing, suspension, thinking about things from a different perspective. The Hanged Man. Illusion and delusion, the Seven of Cups. Wish fulfillment, the Nine of Cups. And then guardrails, the Nine of Wands. So yeah, we're coming out of this kind of mis and disinformation phase, and we're kind of coming towards being more discerning and knowing the truth about certain things. We're not perfect by any stretch, but we're getting there. And I think, there's some guardrails that are going to be put up. I think this has to do with some of the maps getting changed, in particular, how big the Virginia election results will be. Uh, there's a lot of illusion and delusion thinking out there, but it's going to be replaced by truth and by quiet diplomacy. Countries eventually heading out of trouble, and we have protection, which I think is important for the next 10 days just to know there's this protection. It's been there for a while. And wish fulfillment, but we just have to wait till we get there. So, timing's hard in tarot. This feels like this is more like a several months than 10 days. Underneath here, the voters, of course, we have an election. That's good, just confirmation. I do wonder if something comes out about Epstein, the Chariot card. And then we get our card for the Democrats, the King of Cups. And I think we'll see the Democrats dominate the election next week. So, all right. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with another video soon.